From the ECSI Sports Studios and the #1 sports investors in America, we bring you the closing bell. As the market closes, legends Jeff Dawson and Riley Magnuson bring you all the sports investing tips for tonight's matchups. If you want to learn more from the two legends at the desk, make sure you stay tuned to the closing bell. ECSI fans, do you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sportsbooks and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good evening, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your closing bell for Monday, October 30th, 2023, the last 2 days in the month of October. First and foremost, shout out to my daughter, Caitlin, who is 25 years young today. God bless you. I remember like it was yesterday, bringing her home from the hospital, but 25 years young. God bless you. Shout out to WagerWire, a new proud partner and sponsor to the closing bell. If you have not downloaded the app, please go to Google Play and wherever you download your apps and download WagerWire. A lot of education coming starting hopefully this week throughout November, December, and of course 2024 on all the neat tricks of the trade that you can utilize this great app. And if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see a bunch of sports books, partnerships, DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, BetMGM, yada, yada, yada. Go grab some free promos, some free wagers, etc. there. And last but not least, less than 2 months till Christmas, send an email to affiliate@wagerwire.com. Tell them ECSI and JD sent you. Travis, Zach, and the rest of that team will take good care of you. Shout out to the men behind the glass, Joe Shea, Evan Lewis, Olu, Bennett, Kate Horton. Thank you guys for all you do. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. SouthSide Riley himself. Good evening, sir.
Good afternoon, good evening, my friend. Happy Monday afternoon, evening, depending on what time zone you are, obviously. But I am doing well, my friend. Happy to be here for a new week once again. Solid weekend as far as football was concerned. Maybe not the most exciting weekend on paper as outside of the world of sports betting. But aside from that, it was a fun weekend for me. Had some good action this weekend, so I'm feeling good. But obviously, we've got a heck of a day coming up tonight with pretty much the whole sports globe that we've got. At least the whole season is going on tonight. Football, basketball, hockey, and obviously World Series. So I am ready to rock and roll, my friend. I'm sure we'll be doing love these Monday shows because we do a little bit of recapping. So I'm always ready to rock and roll with that stuff.
Yeah, the sports equinox, all four major sports playing. And if you want my honest to God truth, actually with YouTube, I guess I they make it real easy. Can watch the NFL game and the baseball game. We'll definitely have the volume on the World Series as you get our alerts. Haven't played a lick in the NBA right now. Just been monitoring. We're going to jump into the prop market. I assume this week we'll start dabbling there. So, yeah, all four, NHL, NBA, NFL, and MLB tonight. So good stuff there. Yeah, I love our Monday show. I like to recap. I like to almost replay our Friday show or our Thursday night show, I should say, sometimes, and then just because we do a lot of preface and what's about to happen as well on the weekend. So I like to replay. I go back to Saturday. I was at the BC Yukon game. And let me just say this, leading up to this past weekend, it had rained 8 out of 9 of the last weekends. And I'm not just talking sprinkles. I mean, it has just been ugly. It's been Noah Ark ugly for most of these. Saturday, it was 80 degrees at Chestnut Hill. It felt like it was, an early July day, and it was a good football game. BC, as usual, plays with their food in the town. They didn't cover. My true number was 8, by the way. I think it closed as high as 14, 14 and a half, and they won, but they didn't cover. Now 5-3. And I think one went away from going bowling, so hats off to them. Spent it with my 3 daughters, 2 daughters and their girlfriend, but had a great, great time there. But for the action, each week as we keep moving forward, one of these teams are going to get picked off either in the top 4 or knocking on the door, and down goes Oklahoma, which long term now could have an effect on Texas because Texas is holding on to the undefeated. Look what we did, win at Alabama, and then Oklahoma now loses. Texas with a loss. So the Big 12, a little shakeup there. Big 10, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, just business as usual. So we were both surprised, I assume. The Indiana Hoosiers putting up a boatload of points, which we didn't see. But as usual, the Terps were the twerps. And we sniffed them out again. Hey, I'm 2 for 2 in sniffing those out, by the way.
You are. And the other thing, I mean, the 11 a.m. noon kickoff window in late October when it's not 80 degrees and sunny, 40 degrees, 45 degrees, claims another victim. That is so far. Evanston, Illinois, in late October when nobody cares about the football team anymore is so bad of a home field advantage that it becomes a good home field advantage, especially when we're talking that 11 a.m. kickoff and you come in expecting to roll right through them, and the next thing you know, you're down a touchdown, and the Northwestern's got the ball with 3 minutes left. So I'm drawing a blank on what the final score was, but no, credit to Northwestern, man. I mean, you can say whatever you want, but they're 4-4 right now. Obviously, the off-field stuff and the Coach Fitzgerald stuff dominated the offseason, but they are making their case to not be the worst team in the Big Ten. So, aside from that, no, Ohio State, Wisconsin, kind of business as usual. Wisconsin actually covers, but business as usual for that game for the most part. But no, I had you know what? You and I didn't talk too much about it. We stayed mostly in the Big Ten. And I ended up, I had Kansas team total over. So obviously I'm not, flashing my money line ticket around or anything like that because I didn't have that for Kansas necessarily. But it did feel like at least one of those teams was going to get caught by somebody kind of and Kansas, I mean, credit to Kansas. They are obviously, I think they were 5-2 coming to that game. So it wasn't like, they were that much of a pushover. But when you got all these Big 12 games that close and a lot of these teams, I don't want to take anything away from TCU, but there's so many teams that you can make the argument were as good or close to as good as that team last year. So there's a lot of jockeying there. I guess I was expecting maybe one other team to get caught, but there was so many snoozer games, whether it was Wisconsin, but just not good enough to beat that Ohio State team, or maybe Florida State overlooks Wake Forest and they put up a stinker, but obviously they handled business well, looked really good. Georgia going down to Florida, we didn't talk too much about that one, and they looked totally solid and totally fine. Seemed like one where I was like, maybe, hey, if they're not ready to show up and come into play, and they look like that team that, is hanging in with some of these bottom half of the teams in the SEC, and Florida shows up, and they're going to get caught by them. So credit to all these teams that showed up and played and looked good despite all of that. But, obviously Oklahoma, who a lot of people have been talking about their defense looking a lot better, and, I was kind of, it's better than it was last year, but certainly not to the level where you can get that consistency and get that undefeated season. Obviously, not totally dead yet. when you think of, if they run the table the rest of the way with the Big 12 championship, get one or two of these teams above them to lose, then they're still in business. But yeah, obviously, yeah, that's not the one you want to be dropping when you're trying to put together an undefeated season, obviously.
Yeah, good nuggets there. We talked at length. There were two big public trendy dogs. Kansas was one of them against Oklahoma, and then Utah was the other against Oregon. So again, I talked and prefaced the fact that Oklahoma got caught looking ahead against UCF last week. Maybe that was their wake up call. Obviously, it wasn't. Kansas was waiting for him, smacked him in the mouth early, and thanks for playing. As for Oregon and Utah, Oregon just did the same thing. It's like, no, guys, we're the real deal. And something 26 teams had not done has gone into Utah and was able to come out with a win. And it wasn't just a squeak them out win at the buzzer. It was, hey, guys, we're for real. And staying in the Pac-12, I mean, USC, hats off to California, went for two late, lost 50-49 there, USC and Lincoln Riley. Listen, Lincoln Riley, great coach, great offensive coach. But listen, this is getting just a little outlandish. You can say what you want, Big 12 Oklahoma, we don't play defense anyways. Taking this to the Pac-12 with the Heisman Trophy winner last year and coming back this year, and their defense – Riley, you and I can score on their defense, okay? That's how putrid it is. But Washington, again, just kind of, I don't want to say going through the motions because that was my team in August. That was my team to sneak into the Final Four, shock the world, win the Pac-12. I'm telling you right now, Oregon is not just the best team in Pac-12. In my eyes, and I know I don't give Florida State enough credit, I really don't, but Oregon, in my eyes, is a Final Four team.
I'm with you, and that was, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here. I don't take a ton of college football favorites. Oregon was one of my winners that I had on Saturday because, and a lot of it was the Utah situation where they go into USC as a touchdown dogs. You and I talked about it. It was like, this kind of seems a little weird. I mean, seems like a statement that USC is this big of a dog or a favorite against Utah, and then Utah goes in and not only covers, but they win. Then you go a week later and they're a touchdown dog at home to an Oregon team that's already got one loss, and that one was head scratching to me. So, and that's as much as I give credit to Utah for being a team that week in and week out is just really solid and really consistent and hard to go in and beat. So, no, Washington. I didn't watch too much of that game, but obviously, kind of hanging in there the last two weeks after that Oregon win, hanging in with a couple of teams that. Obviously are not really in the picture. Credit to Arizona State, though. They did have a nice game and nice win against Washington State. So that win 15-7 doesn't look as bad. Starting to look a little better from that respect. But, no, I can't say. I'm not going to add too much to the USC situation because it looks like, had you put this USC team in maybe some of the last few years where the USC where the Pac-12 wasn't as deep, you could probably get this USC rolling through undefeated. And then you get to the Final Four expecting them to show up, and then it looks like kind of what you were saying with the Oklahoma showing up in the Final Four against I'm drawing a blank on who the teams Oklahoma played those handful of years, but they obviously got smoked in all of those games for the most part. So, no, it looks like the same thing. They'll obviously, assuming they win a handful of games here, going to probably get a nice bowl game, but we'll see what happens there. But looks like, are you seeing this question that we're getting here?
Yeah, Mr. Sailor, Oregon at 14-1, Oregon to win the Pac-12, and I don't want to say we missed the boat because it dropped $800, Russ, but I would be also sprinkling a little Bo Nix for the Heisman as well. It's usually last man standing, and I've said on record here the last 2 weeks now, I think Oregon State will pick off Washington. And actually, we had Arizona, the ECSI guys did over Oregon State this past weekend, but I expect Oregon State to pick off Washington. You're going to have an Oregon-Washington rematch. Oregon's probably going to be favored at this point on a neutral field. I think they're playing it in Vegas around 3.5. I expect Oregon to win. Now we're going to have to sit back and see. There's a one-loss Oregon team at Washington, missed field goal, by the way. have enough weight. And the Pac-12, in my eyes, top to bottom, the best conference in the country this year, hands down. So, Russ, not too late to dive in on some Oregon without a doubt, because I spoke to a few of our colleagues about 3-4 weeks ago even, and asked them on a neutral field, Georgia versus Oregon, and they only had Georgia. One of our guys only had Georgia -1, and I think Ron only had them around -2.5. Oregon, the real deal, top to bottom. I don't want to say a super elite quarterback, but obviously a quarterback that's played in the SEC with Bo Nix and is doing real well in the Pac-12. Great question, Russ. Yes, definitely dive in there. I'm going to circle back to the SEC, the magical 14.5 number. Georgia 4-0, no covers, and I think it was week 5, Riley, or they might even been 5. No, I think it was week 5. 14.5-point favorites against Kentucky and rolled Kentucky. Then a couple other wins, no covers, and then 14.5 this past Saturday against Florida. Box to wire, boat raced them there. Look ahead line, Bama's only -3 against LSU, the lowest point spread as they've been favored for way back. So I think they're off this week, if I'm not mistaken. Then they play LSU next week. So again, we gave out Alabama about a month ago, +2,000, with the thought process they'd cheat, beat LSU, then beat Auburn, and then face an undefeated Georgia team. Probably Georgia about 3.5, 4-point favorites in the SEC title game. Get that win, and that, like Oregon, they'll be sitting and waiting there. But that 3.5 number does get me nervous. And also Russell, you might want to take this one into consideration too. Jaden Daniels got some big money thrown on him this past weekend on the Heisman. I think he's like the 4th favorite now at +650, and third favorite. Okay,
At least
you
on
say
this
third.
Book, he's 4-1. He's 4-1 on this book here.
Yes. So that's starting to make me wonder. Now, LSU, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 losses, right? They had the loss to Florida State, and then they lost to Ole Miss. So maybe some people think that they're going to cheat, that they're going to go into Bama and win. So, wow, there's a lot of money over the weekend came in on him.
Right, and they would have to win that game. If they lose that game, you can write them off, pretty easily, obviously, there. And then, three-loss team, they got Florida, Georgia State, and A&M after that, LSU does. So potential to put up some numbers after that, but obviously you gotta win this one here. So to close it all out, I would be shocked if Oregon, if they cheat all the way and are a 1-loss Pac-12 team, didn't get in. That the only scenario is if you're talking about Georgia and Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship, they're both 1-loss, probably still getting both of them in. And then you would, if Florida State's undefeated, I think Oregon should be ahead of Florida State. But if they're undefeated, probably getting in. So that's 3 teams, and then, you got to hope the Big Ten team isn't undefeated as well. That's the only way I think you would see them not in the Final Four, which I don't think is likely. I don't think all of that is going to happen. I think you're going to get some help, but. Would you agree? Is that fair to say that if Alabama beats Georgia and they're both 1-loss, Florida State's undefeated and the Big Ten team's undefeated, that's the only way that Oregon has 1 loss doesn't get in, right?
Well, here's the problem is Texas fans will say, "Hey, we beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa," saying Texas cheats.
Sure.
So now you got that egg on your face there. Yeah, and some of the experts have said this is a down year for the SEC, and that 2 teams should not get in this year. I'm a couple hours south,
which I agree.
And
I agree they shouldn't. I guess I'm curious if the SEC bias still lives enough to where that would happen, I guess. But if you say they shouldn't be 2 teams, I would agree with that.
Yeah, so it's like one of these almost like damned if you do, damned if you don't, meaning let's say Bama gets picked off, so they got 2 losses, they're out. LSU's already got 2 losses. So get Georgia in, and then we, is the Big 12 gonna get, left out? There's no way in holy hell a 1-loss Oregon team, or if something, what happens if Washington goes undefeated, then loses to Oregon, I still think they'd move Oregon in. I mean, I know Penix Jr. is still the favorite in the Heisman, but they have slowed down the last 2 weeks. And I firmly believe Oregon State's going to be sitting there waiting for him, and I think they're going to get him.
I think so too. Or, I mean, shoot, they got to go to USC, they host Utah, then go to Oregon State before Washington State. You feel good that they're dropping at least one of those games there. I'm with you 100% there. You do feel good about it but no, yeah, you bring Texas up. I would be shocked also if a one-loss Oregon team doesn't get in, especially after that win the other day. That's just, you can put that one on the resume easy there. And obviously, whoever they would beat in the Pac-12 championship is obviously going to be pretty good as well. So, just I do love doing the scenarios though, because then there's some that are partially realistic there, but I'm with you. Oregon is all, out of all these teams, they're the one that I don't want to say I like the most, but the one that I like the most that people aren't already crowning as one of the top 2-3 teams.
Well, and it's funny because, again, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid on Ohio State, and I know they beat Penn State, and I know they're going to have an opportunity, obviously, to play Michigan, who they've lost the last 2 years to. But put Ohio State and Oregon on a neutral field, and I'm on Oregon the whole time. And shout out to Russell. He was able to find Bo Nix at plus 690 for the Heisman, so good find on your part. And glad to see you on board with the Ducks there for sure. But the Big 12, that was a big, big loss for Oklahoma, and it really hurts Texas, I think, long term. And we still don't know what's going on with yours as well. So that's be a wait and see. So great talk there. We'll circle over to the NFL. Another Sunday. Listen, everyone here knows I'm a big time high stakes fantasy football player, and I'm managing. I think I counted. I'm managing 17 or 18 teams this year. And, we've got some teams on the lid, got some teams doing well, got some teams that are, thanks for playing. I'll be honest with you, I was in the wrong lanes for a few of these teams, but just trying to save the injuries. And it's funny that you got teams rounding into form, and then I take the big hit with Cousins was my quarterback there. And not only do you lose Cousins, I do have Jefferson in a spot or two that I've been able to maintain, but I have Addison in a few spots. So you lose Cousins, it affects Addison. I have Hawkinson in a few spots. So the quarterbacks this weekend that go down, obviously Cousins, Pickett, who I have as a number 2 in a few spots. I like the fact that Deontay Johnson was coming back. I'm a big Pickens guy. The Frymouth back on the IR stings there. But on the top of my head, Cousins, Pickett, now it sounds like Matt Stafford might go on the IR. So you don't just lose the quarterback there. You got to look at Kupp, Puka, Tutu there. There was a couple more quarterbacks that got injured. So NFL carnage for QBs this weekend, Riley.
Yeah, I was trying to pull it up. I want to say there was halfway optimistic news about Matt Stafford. Not broken. Still possible he'll miss time, but I don't think it's not like season ending or anything like that. But obviously, yeah, it is carnage, like you said, and not just that. There were some other guys that went down, but no, that Viking situation. Obviously, I think the other thing to mention is you bring in what was his name, Jaron Hall. Who's actually in a situation where they just needed to run the ball a few times and drain the clock out. They moved the ball once and almost had a turnover the other time, but a little bizarre that they let them fire a little bit when they're at their own 15-yard line a little bit there. But at the same time, they decided to go a different way. They got veteran Nick Mullins. I think Colt McCoy, who's worked with O'Connell, is somewhere in the vicinity of bringing in here. So. No, I don't know. I think it's going to be one of those situations where you got a young quarterback, or if it's someone like Mullins or Colt McCoy, you're going to have one guy who's a security blanket, and then these other guys might struggle. As if Jefferson comes back, he's so good that he's obviously going to find ways to get himself wide open like he always does. But you mentioned it, yeah, the Jordan Addison hit could be fine. He looked great yesterday without Jefferson, but obviously if he doesn't have chemistry with whatever that quarterback is, then that's obviously an issue. Same thing with Hawkinson, who did seem okay in the couple of spots in that game there against Packers yesterday. But no, it's going to be obviously interesting to watch there. And obviously you get to a point where I've talked about them as up until this point still having a very legitimate, when they were 2-4, 1-4, whatever it was, still having a chance to find their way into that last spot in the playoffs, which is not looking good now. But you never know. There's going to be a lot of teams that have no interest in holding that last spot. So it might be a free for all 7 or 8 win team that gets into that last spot this year.
Well, and I'll add tomorrow, 4:00 is the trade deadline on Halloween trick or treat. I'll give you a name, and I will say this: if we do the closing bell at 5:00, I will give you a name that will be a Minnesota Viking tomorrow for the closing bell. His name is Jameis Winston. Famous Jameis. And I guess he's works out with or has worked out with Justin in the summer. Justin, no problems with him. It's a veteran that can sling the ball around. It's kind of funny because we did know that this was going to be Kirk's last year. Now you got 2 older pocket passing quarterbacks with Rodgers and now Kirk Cousins with Achilles issues. So it's hard for the older quarterbacks, obviously, there. So keep an eye on Jameis Winston there to Minnesota.
But I guess I think that's probably, now that you say that, one of their better options. But if the Saints are trying to win, I mean, they're the 2 teams. They're both 4-4 tied for that last spot right now, unless they're getting 150 cents on the dollar, which maybe they get enough and they say, we can't refuse this offer. Maybe they say, well, we're going to be fighting with you for this last playoff spot. We don't want to give you we hope you're getting stuck with some rookie quarterback. That would be my pushback to that. But I'm not saying it can't happen.
No, and I get that. And a lot of times it could come down to money. Let's be realistic. They would call back Drew Brees out of the broadcast booth before they put Jameis in. For some reason, he's either got a sex tape or something on someone there. He's not getting on the field. So maybe the Minnesota's willing to pick up the contract or whatever. But I heard that before we came on there. Sounds like Daniel Jones will be back this week. Tyrod Taylor got hurt. And Bears, real quick to say, Justin Fields will not start next week. They're sticking with the kid, the Division II kid from Shepherd. What else? Pulled the plug on Ritter yesterday, and they said, "Fuck the hell with it. We're going to grab a Heineken or Heineke instead." Hats off to Mr. Levi yesterday. Levis, Levi, whatever you want to call him, Mr. Sassoon, comes in and throws not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 touchdown passes. The next coming to Warren Moon, I guess, for the Titans or the Oilers, whatever you want to call them over there. Just so many injuries. Again, Pickett might be out for a week or more. Who the hell knows over there? In comes Trubisky. My Patriots, just to lose Kendrick Bourne for the year with an ACL. You just decided that they were going to play Tyreek man on man. You just can't cover that guy. And the Bills, we had talked about earlier. I'm just trying to go through the Jets and Giants. Listen, okay, Gano 2 missed field goals. Never should have went to overtime. Never should have got to overtime anyways, because that play shouldn't have gone off. The ref has got to set the ball, and he just tagged it. So they should have never went there. Just some crazy. The refs. Listen, I don't come on here to talk about the refs. Okay. But again, and I'll just say Denver. We had Denver as an upset special here, spread and money line at ECSI. I guess Mahomes was sick. Yada yada yada. It was just they were overdue. They had won 6 in a row. They were due for a hiccup, like that 7 points against Bills and Pats, like that other 7 point the week before. It smelled to me there, Riley.
I was with you, and I threw some pizza and beer money on because I had a nice noon and had a few extra dollars to burn, and threw a little on Bengals and Broncos, and my one buddy texted me and was like, "What the hell script did you have this morning or yesterday?" And I was like, "Hey, I was just having a little fun with that one. I don't know." But no, on top of the Chiefs obviously being due for a stinker, you and I talked about it. I mean, if you respect Sean Payton as a very good NFL coach, if you don't, you don't. But if you respect him as a good NFL coach, this Broncos team offensively has shown a lot better things than what they showed last year, which is obviously not saying much. And it's a defense that wants to get that 70-point stink off of them for sure there. And I looked a lot better these last couple of weeks. So from that perspective, on top of that, I mean, whatever Mahomes' illness that he was listed as waking up with, maybe that had a factor in altitude as well. I don't know, but the Giants-Jets game, for goodness sake, I mean, the credit to the Giants, I think, for almost being able to win that game with. I was, my dad and my brothers, have a text chain about the Packers every Sunday, and obviously the Packers game went the way it was, so we had time to fill them in on what else was going on. Former Illinois quarterback Tommy DeVito, when my brother is an alumni of Illinois, so he was shocked that he was even in the building, and he was like, "If you told me that man was on a Canadian football team practice squad, I would be laughing in your face, let alone an NFL practice squad, let alone walking into an NFL game and almost winning." So, which obviously was not any valor to him there. Saquon, he did all he could. I mean, goodness gracious, 3.6 yards a carry usually doesn't do it. But obviously, yeah, that's the first time I've seen that many carries in a while in this era of football here. So they're obviously waiting for Rodgers to come back. The Jets, if he can, obviously that he's probably tooting his horn a little bit more than he probably should be as far as being able to get back. But credit to the Giants defense that they've looked a lot better these last few weeks. Did just ditch Leonard Williams, but he hadn't been too productive these last couple of weeks anyways there. The Titans, you mentioned Will Levis. We're going to get a good sense on a short week here against another good defense on Thursday. Credit to him for sure. The one thing, I was on the Titans yesterday. That was one of my winners as well. Even with the quarterback situation, Mike Vrabel out of the bye week since he's taken over as Titans coach has been, I don't know what the winning margin was. This might have been his close win out of a bye week that he's had since he's took over. I mean, I looked back, and it was domination after domination out of the bye week. So that was one that I'm sure going forward, that'll start to be a trend that we see going forward, because I believe he's undefeated as the Titans coach. Don't know if he's covered all of them, I assume, because like I said, the margin of victory is pretty absurd out of the bye week. So I'm sure going forward we'll start to see some Mike Vrabel out of the bye week Twitter trends next year, the next couple of years here.
I'm not going to let you off, even though we've gone almost 35 minutes. I'm just going to give you my 2 cents here. Christian Watson is softer than a baby's diaper. I'll just leave it at that. I get the banana and the tailpipe in one spot. Was expecting big things. Gets injured the week of the first game. Took him forever to come back. He's heartless, gutless. The rookie Jaden Reed showing some spunk over there. Aaron Jones just a shell of himself. What's it? AJ Dillon looks like Eddie Lacy, about 20 pounds heavier. Listen, I don't like to rag on first-year quarterbacks. I mean, but when you got 2 or 3 years to learn from an all-time great with Rodgers, what were you doing? Were you looking at the Wendy's menu, or you just didn't pick something up in not 1, 2, 3 years here? Again, like the Patriots and Mac Jones. Listen, they're paying Mac Jones, I think, $2.3 million this year. Next year will be his 4th year. I think he gets a raise to 2.7. The Patriots draft a rookie and says, "Hey, Mac, we're going to give you 1 more year." They're not just going to cut him loose, because at 2.7, it's a bargain. And I don't know what you do in Green Bay, and you go and draft another quarterback. The problem with these billionaires is they have a hard time looking in the mirror and say, "Hey, guys, we made a mistake." He's not the answer. So you can give us the temperature, your feel on the Packers moving forward.
Right, and I can't add too much of what you're saying. I mean, I keep seeing a lot of people trying to have those. Well, are all these other situations working well? Is he in the best possible situation? And the answer might be no. But that doesn't mean that he could be covering up some of these issues as well, and he's just not. And he doesn't look good. I mean, shoot. as a franchise who's seen nothing but Hall of Fame quarterbacks, it's kind of easy to spot and say this guy isn't a future Hall of Fame quarterback, or let alone a Pro Bowl quarterback. Do I think he could be a lot better than what we've seen the last few weeks? Yes, but that's not saying much. He's been flat out bad, and so is this offense. And Aaron Jones, still kind of gave the caveat that he's, maybe not 100% yet, but like I said, if you're not 100% yet and you're showing up and you're, like you accurately said, a shell of yourself, then, I'm all for playing through injuries, because we talk about the opposite of guys not really playing through injuries. But at a certain point, when you're not helping your team, then, we got to look at things a little differently there. So the wide receivers, like you said, Reed is, a little bit of spunk. He kind of lost the one interception that I think Jordan Love threw, kind of soft hands Jaden Reed. Aside from that, he has been, fun to watch. And Romeo Doubs, great footwork, but not a leading receiver obviously either. And Watson, I can't say too much of nice things about him this year here. So what else? I mean, the defense. The defense it's not horrendous, but it's not good enough obviously for a team like this. And I've been very adamant the last 3-4 years, and I guess the entire last 15 years, not really been happy with their defensive coordinator. Still not happy with their defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, this year. I'm not saying he's been there 15 years. It's been a while since I've been satisfied. It's been since Dom Capers 13 years ago since I've been satisfied with the D coordinator here. So, but I think a lot of it, and from a coaching perspective, there's some things that Matt LaFleur does well that I like. And is part of the reason why they had 13-win seasons 3 years in a row. But there's a lot of things that is very head-scratching. It doesn't make sense. And whether that's at a certain point when your defensive coordinator is making the same mistake that he made a year and a half ago, that was a glaring mistake, and you've done nothing to help change that at all, or say, hey, man, something's not going right here, then that starts to fall on you as a head coach there. So something needs to change for sure. And like you said, what they do going forward, I think if you continue to let Jordan Love go, it continues to look like this, and, they're obviously in a position to take one of these quarterbacks that, everyone's talked about, then I don't think they'll hesitate too much in doing that. But, if they've got the 12th, 13th pick or something like that, and you've got to either get real aggressive, or you got to kind of hope that you pick and choose and find another Jordan Love, for lack of a better term, I doubt they would do that. So, it is a tough position to be unless you go all out and lose games, which obviously the organization has not, been ever in my lifetime, or since, before Vince Lombardi, been a full out, tank and lose situation. Before tanking was even real, they just lost because they were bad. But aside from that, no, Jordan Love, I think he's got one more year. They gave him a 1 year extension for next year, 20 or so million or something like that. So unless, like I said, I imagine they're probably going to let him go again. I don't think any of these guys are going to be too much on the hot seat here in this first year. Because like I said, you get a little bit better offensive line, you get your weapons in a better situation. I do think he can look a little bit better, but similar to that, I don't think it's too different from the Max Jones situation where, at times he can look good, but at the end of the day, you don't want your quarterback to look good at times. You want your quarterback to just be very good. And that's not the case. So, no, it's ugly, and I'm drawing a blank who they've got next. Their schedule hasn't been, overly difficult, and it's, it doesn't get that much difficult. I want to say Rams maybe is who they got coming up. I'm not sure. But either way, it's a point where you go to 2-6, 2-7, then you got to start to wonder if tanking is the best option for you. So, also a spot where, probably not going to be too active in the trade deadline, selling or buying. So weird position for sure for Packers.
And I'm going to just add this before we hit tonight's slate is, when I watched Favre, and it was funny because I remember like yesterday, Rodgers' first game, he comes in off the bench at Dallas, and I was a big fan of him at Cal. And he comes in, and you could see right away he had the it factor. And later on in his career, what made him so special is you guys designed plays where you faked the handoff and the offensive line would shift to the right. He would roll right. And if Rodgers didn't have anything, he'd pull the ball down. He'd run for 8 or 9 yards and move the chains. And you know what? Jordan Love, one of his pluses in college was his mobility, his able to get out of the pocket and run. I don't see one designed rollout play, not one. I was sitting here with my buddy yesterday, who's a diehard or was a diehard Packer fan with Favre and Rodgers. He'd come to my house wearing the cheesehead, and we used to always give him shit, And I said to him yesterday, I was like, this kid can move, he can run, yet he's sitting in the pocket like he's a pocket passer. I'm like, show me some creativity. Move the pocket to the right, move it to the left. Not one, Riley, not one designed rollout play.
No, and it's interesting because he does have a few games with some carries for some nice rushes, but like it's just, last resort. Oh wow, this seam is wide open. I'll go ahead and take a nice little stroll here, and it's not designed 100% there. So no, again, like I said, there's some things that I like about the coaching staff. There's a lot of things that I don't like about the coaching staff, and yeah, the last thing on Jordan Love, there's other times where it just seems like he's got his mind made up before the play develops, where, there's certain times where he doesn't have he doesn't have any protection, nobody's open, and obviously not much you can do. But then there's other times where, oh man, I've got Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs going 40 yards down the field on this fade route that should be open. Let me forget about everyone else, and that's the only spot that I'm going to. And last few weeks he's been underthrowing those throws. So unless something changes anytime soon, like you said, no, you don't got to tell me about Aaron Rodgers' history. It was a situation where you knew exactly. I shouldn't say you knew exactly what you had, but you knew that you had something there. And you gave him some hope, and obviously that was not the case the last 2 years with Jordan Love at all. You had that glimmer of maybe he's okay and can do something against that Eagles game in the second half when the Eagles were up by 3 scores. So that was the equivalent there, which was not the same. So no, it's rough sledding. So we'll see what happens, and I expect them to probably win a few games here and not be in that top 5 sweepstakes or whatever it is. So we'll see what happens, but. Aside from that, not too much else. The only other thing is credit to Carolina for showing up and winning a football game, getting off of that 0-for. Team that is obviously not very good, but I think at the end of the day, when a team like that doesn't have their draft pick and they just invested their draft pick in the future draft pick on a quarterback now and they're trying to win, it's kind of a dangerous team in certain spots here. So I know everyone's writing them off. And I'm not saying they're going to go on a 6-game win streak or anything like that. But if they're getting some spots where there's going to be some spots where the Carolina Panthers show up and are worth a value, choice here in upcoming weeks for sure. Here is all I'm seeing with them.
No, and I was going to close this with this: is I go back 2 years ago, Jalen Hurts. And there's a lot of quarterbacks like this, but he was able to take the next step. And this is what I mean is 2 years ago, he came in and O-line wasn't as good as it is last year or this year. And he didn't have a big time wide receiver. They had drafted Devonta Smith. But my point is he would take the snap. He would look at his first look. If it wasn't open, he would feel like the pocket's collapsing and he'd pull the ball down and he would run. And then what they did last year is they shored up the offensive line. They brought A.J. Brown into play, someone that could get the ball across the middle. The year before, they completed only 10 passes across the middle. They bring in A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, another year older, a good tight end with Goddard, and the rest is history. I don't mind first-year quarterbacks that only can get through the first read because they're too nervous. They're going to get sacked. That clock is 1,000, 1,000. The ball's got to go out on 1,000. So a lot of them panic. I'm not seeing the progression. And I thought you had wide receivers in place with Watson, with Doubs. You drafted a tight end. And, again, you had you drafted Jaden Reed as well. So there was people in place. The O-line does suck. You were expecting a 2-headed monster with the backfield of Jones and Dillon. Well, Jones has been banged up most of the year, so it's going in the wrong direction. Russell's saying, look for them to show up against Indy. He says Colts are running on fumes at this point. Hey, you know what? About your Colts, Russell, again, Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss. Zach Moss, hats off. I did not see this coming. The rookie wide receiver, Josh Downs, having a big year. Nice bounce back year from Pittman. Obviously, the injury to Anthony Richardson, who showed flashes, a big, hurt overall. But hey, the future's bright, Russell, for the Colts. I like the pieces that are in place. So I think moving forward, you'll be fine.
So two pieces of news. Matt Stafford, UCLA sprain in his right thumb and his day-to-day. That is who the Packers play this upcoming week, is Packers-Rams. Other thing, and the tweet or news update says plot twist. I believe Jonathan Gannon, Cardinals coach, said that Josh Dobbs is going to be the starting quarterback next week. Now he is telling reporters that either Kyler Murray or Clayton Tune, rookie, is going to start against Cleveland, not Josh Dobbs. Murray remains on IR, but obviously getting close, and now is rumored to potentially be an option this Sunday. Kyler Murray, Cardinals, and Browns.
Well, that would save me because I did pick him up in a couple spots. If I could get the green light on Murray, that would save me in a couple spots. So let's go the little engine that could.
Yeah, that would, because I think I don't think I'm wrong. I think he came out yesterday after the game and said that's Josh Dobbs is starting, and shoot, 1-7, but they've been fighting every single game. Credit to what they've got going on there. The fire at least is in the clubhouse. Obviously not relating to wins and tons of points, but they're at least fighting. They're scrapping. They're a scrappy bad team is what the Cardinals are. So, all right, we've been yapping for a while, and we've got a few things going on tonight. But I do love these Monday recaps. It's one I almost as much as actually watching these games. But let's see. Let's stay in the NFL then. Got tonight's Monday night game: Raiders and the Detroit Lions in Detroit. Detroit 7-point. Let me pull up my up-to-date numbers here. Lions -7 at home here on the spread. 45.5, 46, or 45.5, 46 game total. Seen a few different options there. Team totals 19.5 for the Raiders, 26.5, 27.5. A little bit different there. 26.5, 27.5. For the Lions, we've got a Raiders team coming off of a loss at Chicago last week, a bad loss, 12-30. No Jimmy G in that game. He is back tonight. Lions coming off of a bad loss at Baltimore, 6-38, shellacking there to bring them down to earth a little bit. Now they head home, obviously, primetime game. Fans are going to be ready to rock and roll, trying to pump this team up plenty here. Any thoughts on this game? I'm at a spot where I don't have a strong enough thought on the spread or anything like that, and I had a good weekend. I'm not trying to, pull myself back from the weekend, so I'm kind of sitting back a little bit here on this one. Don't have too strong of thoughts. Don't like this Raiders team enough to jump in with them. But at the end of the day, this Raiders team is a little unpredictable, and I think plenty of people are probably going to be all over the Lions in a bounce-back spot here.
Number doesn't make any sense to me. Again, a reality check last week in Baltimore. Come back home to a Raider team, dysfunction junction. Jimmy G is playing. My true number was 7.5 minus 15 cents, which honestly means the real number was closer to 8 than 7 with a 44.5. I seen this as high as 8.5. Then all of a sudden I've seen a lot of late money coming in on the Raiders. Now, is it real? Or is it just that Jedi mind trick saying, hey, late money coming in the Raiders, trying to get you to jump on the Raiders? Not much to like on the Raiders side here. Again, the thought process was we were ready to anoint this Lions team as maybe the third best in the NFC behind Philly and San Fran, who we didn't even talk about, who has lost 3 in a row. And looks like Joe Cool and the Bengals are back for sure there. Over 46.5. I'm hearing St. Brown is sick. He's going to try to fight through it. Another week without without David Montgomery. So Craig Reynolds and Jamar Gibbs in the backfield. I'll go on record. and say Lions win and Raiders cover, and I usually don't say that. It smells to me too much. I'll give you the final score, 24-17. How's that sound? Right on the number and under. How's that?
I'll go in. Teams have been doing a lot of 2-point convert. I could see the rate. This teams to me, I'll agree with you 100%, and I'll say they slide through the back door or something like that. Maybe they had a 2-point conversion, so 24-18 or something along those lines, or 25-19, something dumb like that. And a lot of people are pissed off, or maybe they've got the 2-point conversion, 24-16, and it's a 2-point conversion cover or don't cover. Maybe that's what we're looking at tonight. That's what I'll say. 24-16, and it's going to come down to, and whether or not it happens or not, I'll say it comes down to that. The one that I'm kind of standing on, I don't know if I'm on an island with this one or not. This Lions team, since last year, with Dan Campbell at the helm and Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator, have continued to kind of employ in these last 2-3 weeks. It's been a little, off kilter because one of their running backs has been hurt. At least one of them these last few weeks. I think Craig Reynolds is got a chance to have a nice game tonight, at least considering what his odds are suggesting here tonight. You go back, Jahmyr Gibbs, who obviously broke out in the passing game last week and was really good, had a nice 10 or 11 carries, 60-something yards. Had a nice day there. But obviously, it's game script that got well out of hand, and they're passing the ball around a lot, so Craig Reynolds not getting a ton of opportunities. If we're talking about a 24-17 type game and they're trying to control this game, that's the type of game where last year Jamal Williams scored 17 touchdowns, I think, and I looked it up, and 14 of the 17 were from inside the 5. Montgomery's got 6 touchdowns in 5 games here. I guess what I'm saying is and Craig Reynolds runs really, really hard. He's a good size, athletic guy. Jahmyr Gibbs, I still don't think they're going to, throw Jahmyr Gibbs. If they're at the goal line, I don't think they're going Jahmyr Gibbs 4 times to try and get in the end zone. I think there's a good chance Craig Reynolds is going to get some opportunities around the goal line. His over-under is only 20.5. This Raiders rushing defense at times hasn't been great. So I'm the only thing that I've got going on tonight, my friend, is some Craig Reynolds action. I know I usually am, if we're giving a touchdown prop in these primetime games, I like to throw out the backup. This is one where I actually think that he's going to have a bigger role than what these odds suggest, and I don't think last week is indicative. On paper, his stats from last week is not indicative of what's going on tonight. I'm going over 20.5 on the rushing game, and I'm getting some sprinkles for some touchdown action as well for some Craig Reynolds action.
I'm going to go double tight end. I'm going to take anytime touchdowns on Laporta. And I'm going to take Mayer. So there's your double tight end for Mayer for the Raiders. And then I usually don't double dip, but I can see early they're just going to try to send him to the mailbox. I think he gets behind. Curious on Jameis Williams. Anytime touchdown for Detroit?
Let's see. Jameis Williams. That is a good one. He could. He's 220 plus 220 after all the I guess Josh Reynolds is plus 195, but you got all your bigger names, and then it's Josh Reynolds 195, Jameson Williams 220, Jacoby Myers, who's been really good, only at 225, is a little maybe a little hesitant on Jacoby Myers there. He's been pretty on eye test, been looking really good lately.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. I get a thought. The Raiders off-season and earlier this year have been trying to move Renfro. They brought Jacoby in. They don't want to pay him. So it's almost one of these, could we showcase Renfro, but if he gets hurt, then no one's going to want him. But what happens if Renfro has a big game and then they could sell him? So for the all-time pizza and beer money, because I wouldn't be shocked if he's a late scratch because they're trying to move him. What is Hunter Renfro anytime touchdown?
I might have to scroll a little bit on that one. He is 950 plus 950 anytime.
That is your Thanksgiving, your stocking stuffer, and your early Christmas present. Hunter Renfro, anytime touchdown, plus 950.
Hey, man, I've got a little pizza and beer sprinkle on 2 touchdowns with Craig Reynolds. If he's got 2 carries for 10 total yards, I'll eat my egg on my face, and you know what, I'll eat it. But I'm going a little entertainment on some Craig Reynolds tonight. On top of that, though, I'm interested to see. Devontae Adams. It was more of a factor last week, but now with Jimmy G back. He's been vocal about wanting some more action. His total is up at 74.5, where Jacoby Myers down to 61.5. Like I said, Jacoby Myers has looked really good these last 3-4 weeks. So maybe you get a little bit of a shift and you're trying to see them try and force the envelope a little bit. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's bad. But maybe some Devontae Adams. So I'll go with my guy Devontae to get in the end zone, but plus 155. You'd like it to see, like that to be a little closer to even money there for some confidence. But I like the tight end looks. I do like the tight end looks and Jameson Williams. But I'll stick with my Craig Reynolds, and I'll add in. I like the Michael Mayer one too. My buddy was texting me. He's a big Notre Dame guy, so he's got some Michael Mayer action there. I guess I'll throw in. I'll go Austin Hooper. How about that? A little deep tight end action with Austin Hooper there. He was involved a little bit last week.
There you go. We got some props. We got some action. And I guess there's a World Series baseball game tonight.
You know what? It's been an hour. Why don't we talk about it? A little back end of the show here. I love it. No, we haven't had a chance to chat with each other since since both of those games. It was Friday, Saturday, right? So we haven't talked to each other since then. Game 1 was obviously an instant classic, at least the finish is concerned. Game 2, I don't remember what the final score was, but obviously not very good. In Texas' case, now you are back in Arizona, tied 1-1 here. 9-1 was the Saturday score. 1-1 here on the series, and you've got Mad Max Scherzer up against Brandon Pfaadt, who in all of these breakdowns of the series that we do has kind of been catching some stray shots as the odd man out, but has held his own, I should say. He's held his own up to this point. Maybe this is the time where things get ugly for him, but he's held his own through 4 outings here in these high leverage playoff situations. So not by us necessarily, but anyone else who's breaking down the Diamondbacks, obviously got the 2-headed monster, and then they're rolling out Brandon Pfaadt. Well, he's been all right. He's been all right in these situations here. So, but beyond that, you got Texas as the road. I'm seeing it on the one spot I'm looking at. It's almost a dead pick 'em, but I do see Rangers a little bit of a favorite here, -112 here, probably -115 is more of the consensus there. Where are you? What's the feeling with this one? I haven't been seeing too much. I haven't been on social media today, so don't know what the public opinion on this one is necessarily. Game total at 9 here. Do we've got is it a Mad Max show out, or is it going to be a Mad Max early exit out of this one?
Well, here's the funny, is you're right. We haven't talked game 1 or 2. Instant classic game 1 where Seager with a 2-run bomb in the 9th brings it to extras, and Mr. October, Mr. Garcia launches one for the win. And then D-backs 9-1 bounce back. A Texas Ranger team now 3 games coming in Arizona. Here's the headliner. Texas is undefeated on the road so far in the playoffs this year. In comes Mad Max. I thought I saw a tweet that he's lifetime 12-2 against the Snakes. Pfaadt, I mean, it's just been amazing. This is what happens in playoff baseball. It's one of these guys. It's not the Merrill Kellys. It's not the Zach Gallons. It's Pfaadt that's stealing the show here. ECSI VIPs, where we land here on this game. My true number was Diamondbacks -105, Texas -105. With a flat 9 overnight and early today. Money coming in on the Rangers. Right now it's circa Texas -108. You can get the D-backs -102 with a 9.5 under -20 cents. Tomorrow, Texas announced Gray will be pitching and a bullpen game for the D-backs. So if I had to look at this, because I think it's going to go back to Texas, I think tonight, I just gut tells me it's a true coin flip here. You think undefeated Texas on the road, bounce back spot here. But a bullpen game scares me for the Diamondbacks against Gray, who, again, Gray, former Colorado Rocky. They've seen him. They know him. Not worried there. Then the horses come back for game 5. I think it's going to be a matter of who is up 3-2 going back to Texas. Tough call. I stayed away from the winner. I got a team total here. I think one of these teams gets to 5. I'll throw it out there. I think the Diamondbacks get to 5 today. 5 or more,
Fair
I
enough.
should say.
I'm sorry, what was the last thing you said?
No, I think the Diamondbacks get to 5 or better tonight.
Okay, 5 or better. Yep. No, I'm not going to disagree with you at all. You have been on the right side of a lot of these baseball selections, my friend. So I'm not going to stop you there. I don't know any. I haven't had as much. I've been staying away a little bit for the most part on a lot of these later. I've been enjoying some series action. Before we move on, what's a home run prop for the people? We gave our touchdown props. What's a home run prop here for the people?
I'm going to go chalk tonight. I'm going to go Marte for the D-backs. And actually, you know who's been hotter than you know what for the D-backs? And he's never gotten it. Okay, I'm going to jinx him because the guy has never gotten a hit for me. And if I go against him, he's Willie Mays. Pham has been on fire for this damn Diamondbacks. He couldn't get a hit from me if he's standing on second base and hitting from a tee.
I know, 4 for 4 the other day, and I was reading something. I'm drawing a blank on who he Jace Peterson, I think. He hands the reins. Jace Peterson pinch hits for him, and he said he wanted to let his guy. They were up 7-1, 9-1, whatever it was. Wanted his guy to get in at bat in the World Series. So maybe some good karma there. I don't know, but now Dawson's giving him the jinx, and he's going to go 0 for 6 or something like that. So. No, I like it though. Whenever you got the hot hand for a guy like that, I mean, he's been a guy that can get streaky, so I'm with it for sure. Man, and as far as Arizona, yeah, it's easy to go chalky. I'll go Corbin Carroll. I do like Corbin Carroll. Obviously not the biggest bomber, but he's got 25 homers on the season. He's a guy that can hit it out of the park. So I'll go Corbin Carroll there, and I'll stick until unless we missed a day that he hit one, you and/or I have been saying not Corbin Carroll, Marcus Semien is the guy who hasn't hit his. Yeah, Semien, not a single home run in the postseason. Tonight is the night. I'll go Marcus Semien for a home run for the Texas Rangers.
And we'll get some. We got to throw in. He's got to be the actually. Is he favored over Seager? Is Garcia favored over Seager today for a home run prop?
I see on this one here, 240 for Garcia, Seager 3-1. What did I say? Semien 475. This book doesn't have him in order, so I'm jumping around a little bit here. Ketel Marte 425, Mitch Garver 400, 4-1. And then what was the other one? Corbin Carroll 5-1. So yeah, Garcia 240, easy favorite there.
So if you want to say I didn't take the chalk with Texas, Corey Seager, who has played 1 million games in Arizona there. So it's been a great series. Listen, guys, this will not be a 5-game series. It will go back to Texas. So you'll see at least a 6 and a 7. And the funny is today's the 30th. Then they play the 31st and the first. Yeah, so you got baseball in November this year.
I love it. It's we'll see if we can get somebody crowned Mr. November. It always anyone who is a hero in November gets the Mr. November crown for at least a minute there. So, no, I am excited for tonight. This should be a fun one. A lot of these games. I mean, you're probably going to get another stinker here where one team's winning 9-1 like they did the other Saturday, but feels like a series where you're going to get a couple of really good games here. So I'm excited. NHL and NBA, I think, are the last couple of things we got to tie up. Both got a decent sized slate. Any NHL thoughts you want to hammer home real quick?
I'll just give out some quick team totals for you guys trying to grab some plus money. You can grab the Bruins team total over 3.5 minus 105 or plus 100. You can get the Lightning today team total over 3.5 plus 105 against the Kraken. New York Islanders team total over 3.5 plus 120 at home against the Red Wings. Let me see. Here's one. You can grab the Montreal Canadiens team total over 2.5 plus 100 there. I did have the team total Friday night or Thursday night, I think it was, to go well over in Vegas, and it came through. So take a look at the Habs there. And your Connor Bedard travels to Arizona. Big night for Arizona sports fans. You got the World Series, and you got Bedard in town taking on the Yotes. Arizona team total over 3.5 plus 100 or plus 105 there. And you can get Bedard and the Blackhawks team total over 2.5. You can probably get that close to even money, maybe minus 105 or 110.
Hey, I'm just excited they're not playing a Stanley Cup contender, for God's sake. I think they've only played one team that's not a cup contender this season. I'm not even exaggerating. I think the Canadiens is the one team. Maybe I guess the Penguins not as much of a contender as they've been in the past, but they've had 6 out of their 8 games are bona fide Stanley Cup contenders. So obviously still dogs and still looking ugly at times, but they've shown some fight there. So NBA wise, I have been echoing. You and I are kind of lockstep as far as I just looked. My last NBA bet was during last year's NBA Finals. Did have a lot of good leans on that big day. I don't remember if it was Wednesday, whatever the full slate was that I was so low. Had some good leans, but have still been off the desk. A lot of games that I'm just not interested in jumping into today, forcing my way. And there's a couple ones that are a little head scratchy here tonight. As far as one that felt a little weird, I'm trying to pull it up as shift gears, shift different leagues. The one that no star Ja Morant in town, no Steven Adams in town. They are 0-3, only plus 1.5 at home against the Dallas Mavericks. I have been scratching my head to this point for the Grizzlies, at least on opening night, -1 against the Pelicans. Same situation, only +6. They did cover +6, so I shouldn't say only +6. They covered against the Nuggets, and then less head scratching, more one that seemed kind of fair, pretty much a pick 'em against Washington. But back as 0-3 against the 2-0 Mavericks, who haven't looked fantastic themselves, but obviously have the star power and they're 2-0. Seems a little fishy here in Memphis that this Grizzlies team is only 1.5 point dog.
Yeah, shout out to Marty Lowe. Yeah, Marty Lowe, if you're still watching, Marty will be courtside. Big fan of the Grizzlies as they take on Luka, and I don't know if Kyrie's playing Luka. It was funny on Twitter the other day. I think it was Dame. It might have been Dame. Oh, no, it was Jimmy Butler taking game 3 off for load management, and they just went through the roof. I mean, the NBA needs a big-time investigation here. Here you had the whole off season, and now game number 3, you have to take it off for load management. It's the biggest joke. It's another sport that you should have to play for pay. These guys, some of them are making over $700,000 a game. All right, if you want a contract like that, that's fine. Every game you step on the court and you play. And I'm not just saying check in, play the first rotation and check out, and that's it. You play there's 40 minutes in a game. You play your 18 to 20 minutes. You get paid your full salary for that day, $700,000, not a problem. You want to play 2 games, take 1 off, play 2 games, take 1 off. Well, guess what? Game 3, you're not getting paid, pal. What do you mean? You're not getting paid. Period. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. The money that these guys make, and then they play 2 out of 3 games. It's a travesty. I've lost all interest. I swear to God.
I'm with you, and they've obviously done things to you say the word investigation. They have put in, I'm putting in quotations because it's a load of BS. They're trying to put something in place to put a check on this stuff, but these teams and these players still don't give a shoot. I mean, they're going to do it anyways, and now you're getting teams. I think LeBron and Davis tonight are listed as probable, and it's like, well, why are we talking about it? And it's, because in 2 days they're going to use these as excuses as to why they've had these lingering issues, and now it's built up, and it's a load of BS. You had I'm 100% on your side on this one. Even when you've obviously been watching NBA for a long time. Even 15 years ago, it didn't seem like this was this much of an issue in the NBA. So. And it's not like it's stopping injuries from happening either. So I'm with you.
I talked till I'm blue in the face with the NFL, and it's again with these injuries. The union doesn't want, let me say this, they don't want an 18 game schedule. They don't want 2 bye weeks, but it makes most sense. You'll have your football all around the year. You play 18 games, no preseason games. You got 2 bye weeks. The Super Bowl ends in February. Then you got the combine, the draft, and then the OTAs. It just goes right around the clock. For the NBA, okay, there's a dead month in August. Okay, do yourselves a favor. Okay, and I know they'll never do it. Cut the 82 games down to 60. Opening day is on Christmas Day. That's your stage. Opening day is Christmas Day. You play through August. You crown a champion at the end of August. And then you have the whole fall to play your Olympic games, this game, that game. And you have your preseason at the end of November. You can start it up if you want it after November, after Thanksgiving, and start it up the last week in November. And your first game is Christmas Day. It's your day. Make sure there's no other games and just run with it.
I'm with you because as someone who enjoys watching basketball, I'm not going to push back on anyone who says it's a joke for any of those reasons. On a nightly basis anyways, because obviously at 82 game schedule, there's a lot of games that you could say just aren't that big of a deal. So I am all for the regular season being, put more value on the regular season on top of the, whole rest situation. I am as interested in that as anybody. And this whole, I'm sure it'll start to get a little bit more buzz because I think unless it's this Friday, either this Friday or next Friday, we start the whole in-season tournament thing, and they've got some of the on-court designs look actually really cool. I was pretty excited to see the Bulls one, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, but you're giving incentive for money, and you're at least putting a small bit more value on some of these regular season games. Maybe that helps a tiny bit, but that's only the smallest fraction. Like you said, I am all for them cutting things down. So that not only we don't have these rest issues. If back-to-backs if you're going to not play back-to-backs, then let's cut out back-to-backs. We don't. If it's not the best product, whether you're healthy or not, some of these back-to-backs aren't the best product when a team just played a 2 overtime game the night before and now they're trying to play another, tight match the next night. Some of the times the product just is good. So I'm all for that one. And again, I've been watching NBA a little bit, but I would not be upset if we pushed it back even December 1st, let alone Christmas. I'm with you as far as Christmas Day being the opening because obviously that's opening day for a lot of people there. But no, I in most cases I sprinkle in a little bit here and there, but it's kind of January, February before I really start going deep into the NBA markets here. So. I'll try and break it down best I can and say where I think there's certain spots and it's a little fishiness. But, at the end of the day, I've got some, broad thoughts on some of these teams. But on a nightly basis, you still don't really know what you're getting.
No, I agree.
And it's you don't even get me started on the Bulls soapbox because it's the exact same team as last year. I had to I don't know, was it Friday night? I don't know. They had the crazy overtime win against the Raptors, which wasn't deserved at all. It was exciting and it was wild, but decided, all my sports teams are in an ugly space, so I decided to celebrate that one and act like it was a big game. So I had my own little. Actually, I think it was Friday because the Blackhawks beat the Knights in overtime and then the Bulls won in overtime. So that was one of my brighter sports moments of the last year and a half or so as a specific fan, let alone what we talk about. We have plenty of good moments, but. No, I don't know. Would you at least, to tie it all together, and last thing, would you at least agree that Memphis number is a little fishy there?
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%.
Yep. Yeah. And beyond that, maybe one or two also on top of that. I almost, if it wasn't Monday, I would have gone. I could have gone to Heat and Bucks tonight for a kind of a respectable price and got me an hour and a half up there to get there, but. I'll save that one for later. My Pistons that I shouldn't call them my Pistons because I'm supposed to not like them as a Bulls fan, but Pistons are one team that's fun and looking good early, so I'm excited about that one so far.
Yeah, the Celtics have been the Celtics. Porzingis has looked great. Again, let's talk in December and January there. I too have just been watching from afar. Just, I'm trying to figure out what numbers look soft. I mean, the Celtics 8.5 was the true number. They're 10.5 at Washington. Milwaukee and Miami 5.5, now 6. The Bucks, what was it, 2 nights ago got waxed, or did they wax someone? I saw them.
They lost 127-110. Lillard, I think Lillard mentioned something. They're still figuring things out because he was pretty bad that game.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be a bounce back, but it's a short number there. Golden State and New Orleans, I saw a stat there that teams that are playing back-to-back on the road have been atrocious straight up, never mind against the spread. I think Golden State and Portland are the two teams this tonight. Raptors a 9.5 against Portland, who's supposed to be a train wreck this year. Obviously, Aiden has not been the answer there. And then Golden State, 4.5 point dogs. But again, go back to last year and their road woes, how bad they were on the road on a back-to-back, which was even worse last year. But the spread's only 4.5, which is scary.
Right. And all things, to tie things up, it's also not the main show in town tonight. So how much can you really, pick off of that public perception? Because the public might not give a crap that the NBA is happening tonight when you got the World Series and a Monday Night Football game, and all these XYZ. Maybe there's one or two basketball games, but the grand scheme of things, maybe these markets aren't as filled as they are. Maybe I'm talking wrong information here. But at the end of the day, no, I'm still not in love with this NBA slate tonight. But I'll probably have my eyes on a couple games.
Yeah, it's just a wait and see, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna wait and see. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me, my friend. Anything else to lay down before we get out of here?
No, we worked overtime today, an hour and 17 minutes. Again, it's the sports equinox. Should be an okay game. I smell something fishy in the football game. I expect the Lions to win. Wouldn't be shocked, obviously, with a Raider cover. World Series, an absolute coin flip. We know that. An undefeated Texas Ranger team on the road, expect them to try. And if they do put a crooked number up early, that's what the road teams have done. Take the crowd out, put up a crooked number early. So Fat's going to have to be on his game in the first couple innings there. Big slate in the NHL, third weekend, and then, of course, in the NBA second weekend. So great job as always, Mr. Riley. Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts, not anything too crazy. I guess I'll use my closing thoughts for this because you and I do this every once in a while, and usually we are right about one thing being a little fishy here. Seeing a odds boost on this certain public book for said sports equinox. 4 different things, all encompassing for 2-1 odds. Which of these is falling flat on its face? Jared Goff, 200 passing yards. Nikola Jokic, double-double. Connor Bedard, 3+ shots. Or Max Scherzer, 3+ strikeouts.
Which one falls?
Yeah.
Goff over 200. Jokic, what'd you say? Jokic triple-double?
Double-double.
Max double-double. Okay. Max 3+ strikeouts. And what was the last one? Bedard over 3 shots. I'm going to go the shock the world. I'll say Max doesn't get 4 or more strikeouts.
I think that one's the one that seems Goff should be fine for 200 unless something goofy happens there. I mean, that one should be fine. Jokic double-double, maybe you could see him maybe having 9 rebounds or something like that, but he, obviously he's close to triple-doubles every day. Bedard's basically over 2.5 shots on goal, but that Mad Max 3 strikeouts is the one that I think people are going to check off before the game even starts, and then if anything on this show is correct, he might be out of there in the first couple of innings. So I will be staying away from that one, my friend.
Well, tomorrow, if my memory serves me correct, it's Trick or Treat, Halloween, 10:30 a.m. Travis Geiger, CXO from WagerWire, will be joining us with the Breakfast Bankroll. At 1 o'clock, I will be guest or co-host with Pop DiBiase in the NFL Bet Exchange. 3 o'clock, Andrew McGinnis will be here with his Tuesday spot from Wager Talk, talking some NHL. And then at 5 o'clock, myself and Riley will be back for the closing bell. A lot to talk about. Anyone that came on late can go over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investors, catch the whole show. A lot of props, a lot of nuggets. Other than that, we will be back here tomorrow morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Riley Magnuson at Riley_Magnuson, the one. We wish everyone a blessed day. Have some fun on the sports equinox, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.